Hey, good morning, everybody. So we're going to be going over the Meteorite collector here over the next couple of days. The Meteorite collector is a video game using the scroll bit. It really deals with variables. Okay, so that's going to be the thing that we're talking about most here is variables and how to manipulate variables and set things up. So the first thing that I need you to do right now is create a code named the Meteorite collector. All 3 days are going to be put into this one code. All right. So each day we're going to be adding to our code. So make sure that you're like following along and going through. So you can pause the video here and then we're going to move on to the next. So today we're working on Meteorite Collector Part 1. We're going to make the basket move, okay? So the Meteorite Collector, you've already seen in the introduction, but the Meteorite Collector, right, the basket, which I can kind of show you here, is going to move to the left and to the right. Now, if you kind of see what looks like stars on my screen, the kids are always asking me about, like, how come it doesn't look like stars? What is on my Meteorite or what is on my scroll bit looks exactly like what you're going to see on your scroll bit. It's the camera that kind of makes it look a little bit more like a star sometimes. But it's just two LEDs that are on. We move it to the right with the B button. We move it to the left with the A button. So we're working on that today. Tomorrow we're going to make meteorites fall. And then day 3 we're going to make it all keep score and stuff. So once we get into Meteorite collector, okay, the first thing we need to do is we need to add an extension. Because we have something added to our microbit, we need an extension to be able to use it. So I'm going to click the extensions block at the bottom, and at the top here I'm going to search for scroll bit, SCROLLBIT, enter. And then here's our scroll bit, right? It also tells us the name of the thing on the back of the unit. So scroll bit, like right there. So I'm going to select the scroll bit. And now all of the black boxes come from the scroll bit piece, okay? So let's start off by creating a variable, okay? And this variable is going to be called basket X. We're calling this X because of like the X coordinates on a graph. Okay. If we take a close look at the scroll bits themselves, the bottom row is row 6. Okay. So our basket is always going to be traveling along row 6 while our meteorites start at row 0 and then they fall down the rows, right? Then they're at like a random column. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. But our basket is always in row 6. The column, though, changes based upon like what A and B button we press. To begin with, we need to define where basket is going to begin, which is the center of our piece, okay? And talk about that, like let's talk about setting a variable really quick. Setting a variable defines what a variable is equal to, okay? So we have 2 examples. I'm going to show you these in a moment here. But on a button pressed, we're going to set this variable that is named example to 10, okay? And then we're just going to show the number example so we can see it happen. Then I'm also going to create one that says set example to a random number and then show that. Setting doesn't matter what it was. When we say set a variable, that is what it's equal to, at least to begin with. Again, here is this example. I have, sorry, I'm going to move these 2 up. We can ignore that one for the moment. Set example to 10. So when I press A right now, we are showing the example is equal to 10. If I change this to like a 5 and I wait for it to load and I press A, now it's equal to 5. Setting finds what variable is equal to. Over here with B, we set example to a random number. So we don't really know what this is going to turn out to be. But when I press B now, my random number is 0. If I press B again, my random number is 10. If I press B again, my random number is 4, and then 7, right? It doesn't matter what it was. This is what it is now. So over here back in our code, we're going to create a variable that's called basket x. And to begin with, we are going to set basket x to 8, which ultimately is going to position our basket like in the center of our playing field. Okay. Now, in our first forever, this is where we're going to control and like actually see basket. Okay. So in order to see something in scroll bit, we're going to grab this set pixel at column 0, row 0 to 128. Okay. So column is like the horizontal position. Okay. It is the X position. Column is X, row is Y. Okay. So in this case, our X is based upon our basket X variable. So we're going to grab basket X variable. We're going to put that in there. Okay. Now, as far as our row is concerned, for our basket, our row is always going to be row 6. It's always the bottom row. Now, something that's very important too, we're going to add display your changes, and that's going to update constantly throughout the forever loop. Okay. So if I click download now, of course, I would need to connect to my microbit. Oh, apparently I need to connect to my microbit again. Disconnect. Okay, now that we're downloading the code, we can go through and let's make this big. At the moment, we just have 1 pixel. Okay, we have set basket X to 8. So that means that we are in 8 now. Okay, and 8, 6, right? It's 8, comma 6. So 8, 6. Or I guess it's actually what? 8, 6, right? Our Y comes after our X. So that's this bit here, right? We turned basket 8, basket X, which is equal to 8, and row 6 to 128. 128 is the brightness. It's like halfway bright at the moment, okay? Our basket actually consists of 2 pixels. So for our second one, we're going to grab set pixel again. We're going to put this above displayer changes. The next one is going to be basket X plus 1. So I'm going to go to math, and I'm going to grab 0 is equal to 0. I'm going to place this into column. I'm going to grab variables basket X. That replaces my first 0. And basket X plus 1, row 6. Not 60, but 6 to 128. So now when I click download, the only thing that's going to change is now I have 2 pixels available and on. Okay, so we have 2 pixels that are on at the moment. So that's going to be that. Now it's time to start working on A and B. But basically, in our forever loop, we're constantly looking at what is basket X equal to. In this case, it's 8. And then turning that 8, 6 on. And then what is basket X equal to plus 1? So 8 plus 1 is 9. And then that there. But everything is based upon basket X. It's constantly looping through here. Let's go to input and grab on button A. So the first thing we're going to do now is talk about changing a variable, okay? So changing a variable, here we set example to 10. But now when we press, so we're going to start off at 10. But when we press B, in this case, we change example by -1. Okay, and then we're going to show example. So if I come to here, and now I grab this B and move it up. Okay, we can ignore that other one again. Let's say -1. So let's also set this to 10 again. So again, same exact example that we just showed. When I press A, we can see that example is set to 10. Now when I press B, 10 minus 1 is 9. If I press B again, 9 minus 1 is 8. If I press B again, now it's 7, right? Let's instead move this thing around a little bit, and let's instead set example to start. And now let's manipulate things really quick. Again, you're not doing this, you're just kind of like watching. -1, 1. So on start right now, example is set to 10. I don't even have to really touch that, okay? If I press A makes my number go down by -1. So 10 minus 1 is 9. 9 minus 1 is 8. 8 minus 1 is 7. On the opposite side, if I press B, 7 plus 1 is 8. 8 plus 1 is 9, right? So we're taking whatever it was and we're changing it by this number. If we want to count by 2s, we can count by 2s also, right? We can just say, okay, I think we're going to start off at 10 again. 8, 6, 5, 4, 2, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, so on and so forth, right? So we can set these to whatever we want. So going back to our code, we want to change basket X by -1. We want things to go from 8 to 7 to 6 to 5 to 4 to 3 to when we press A. Now, if I were to download this by itself, we're going to see something that like a bit of a bug in the code, right? If I press A now, we can see that we've changed our information, but notice that like it just basically adds on. And if I go to reset by pressing the button in the back, right, it's just like adding on. It's not clearing what came before. So what's really critical here is we basically need to take these blocks from above again, set pixel X to basket X row 6. The important thing here is we're going to set the brightness to 0. We're going to turn basket X row 6 off. We are also going to set basket X plus 1 row 6 to 0. We're going to turn that off. This needs to happen before we change basket X, because once we change basket X, these numbers above will be different. Okay, so we turn off our basket before we turn the basket on, and then it gets updated up here. So if I click download now, and now when I press A, you can see that my basket moves over. I no longer have a bunch of like zeros, right? It also can like go off the screen, which we're going to fix that in a little bit. So we need to do the same thing more or less with button B, but in this case, we're trying to move our basket to the right. So when we move to the right, we start off at like, let's say 8, and then we go 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're counting up by a +1 in this case, okay? And we are going to download, and then we are going to view it. So now, again, I can move over and I can make my basket go straight off the board. Now if I press B, now I can move it back to the right. Now, we don't want our basket to move off the board. As a matter of fact, we don't even really want the basket to go the entire distance of the board because it makes the gameplay too difficult. We're going to like limit the size of the board to the center here, okay? And in order to limit the size of the board, we're going to use some logic. I'm going to grab these 3 blocks out of on button A pressed, and I'm going to go to logic, and I'm going to grab an if true block. Okay, we don't need an else, all right? So all of these blocks are going to go back inside. And in this case, we really don't want our basket X to move past column 4. So we're going to go into logic and say 0 is equal to 0. And we're going to grab basket X. And we're going to say, okay, if basket X is greater than 4, so like when it's at 8, 12, 5, 4, we can get it to like move down. But basically, once basket X is now equal to 4, it won't allow us to change basket X any further. It basically locks us at 4, okay? On the opposite side here, we are going to say if basket X is less than, less than 12. This is going to lock us so the basket X can go to 12, which really means basket X plus 1 goes to 13. So when we take a look at this now, we move down the board, okay? Basket X is now 4, and it won't go any further. We press B. B, if we take a look, again, it is 12 is where we stop with basket X, but 12 plus 1 is equal to 13. So in reality here, our basket goes all the way up to 13 and all the way down to 4. All right. So that's making a basket move. That's good at this point. Like, we are ready to move on to step 2 after this. All right. So nice job with that today. If you have any questions, please ask, and we'll go from there.